Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and his Syrian counterpart Bashar Assad have signed a series of long-term cooperation agreements to enhance economic ties. Raisi arrived in Syria on Wednesday for a two-day visit, the first by an Iranian president to Damascus since 2010. Zara Aldazi has more from Damascus.
Iran's president traveled to Syria on Wednesday for his first visit since the war broke out in 2011. Syrian President Bashar Assad received Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi, who is visiting Damascus for 2 days. The meeting was followed by the signing of a memorandum of understanding for a long-term strategic comprehensive cooperation plan between the two countries.
Many topics were discussed today, foremost of which are the colonial powers' attempts to undermine the stability of countries and divide them, which is an old colonial policy. This visit will constitute an important stage in the path of bilateral relations of our two countries and peoples, because it is based on the correctness of our resistance on the one hand, and because it comes in historical international conditions that lean towards multipolarity and the winning of the forces of hegemony on the other hand. And we both have the will to be an active player, not a passive player in this world. The new one is in the making.
This period of time proved the correctness of Iran, the resistance and steadfastness. And the Syrian state supported and resisted. And the last period proved that the resistance will reach the result. Iran always affirmed its support for the resistance and steadfastness. And we, along with the government and the people of Syria, stand by the Syrian people who confronted the Takfiri groups. And today, the Syrian people got rid of the Takfiri groups. And today, we stand with the Syrian people in the stage of reconstruction. And we trust that the Syrian people and the Syrian government will continue this path.
Agreements were signed for cooperation in the field of agriculture, oil, transportation, free zones, communications, and a number of other fields. According to analysts, it's an extension of cooperation between the two countries and the changes in the region following the Iranian-Saudi reconciliation brokered by China.
The nature of the visit that took place today is a continuation of all the regional transformations surrounding Syria that go toward changing the general environment of the West Asia region and integration with all of Asia, even China. And it comes as a success for Chinese policies.
During the meeting, President al-Assad affirmed the strength of bilateral relations despite the surrounding circumstances, and President Raisi expressed that Syria has overcome great difficulties and achieved victory despite sanctions and the threats. Raisi's visit to Syria reflects a shift in Iran's foreign policy. Iran believes that its interests lie in becoming a partner of the East. It is doing so by strengthening its relationships with China and Russia, and in doing so, it seeks to preserve its strategic independence. Zahra Aldazi, CGTN, Damascus.
Let's get some insights into the renewed diplomatic ties with Wang Jin, Associate Professor at Northwest University of China. He's an expert in Middle East studies. Professor Wang, thank you for joining us. Now, several long-term deals have been inked. How do you see their bilateral ties developing from this visit?
I think the bilateral ties between Iran and Syria are important. Especially the future, the bilateral ties will be further expanded and broadened in the future after this visit. Because first of all, we have to know that this meeting or this visit of Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi to Syria came after this very recent of the new transformation of Middle East geopolitics. For example, we know that the Saudi Arabia and Iran, they entered the rapprochement, and also we witnessed the very, very more and more close ties between Syria and Saudi Arabia and its other Arab states in the recent meetings. So for the both sides, they need to sit down and talk with each other, Syria and Iran, to further strengthen and consolidate their traditional friendship, and also to seek the future opportunities for bilateral cooperation. So that is why we witnessed this meeting, what's happened, and also we witnessed the very, very achievement of this meeting, the agreements of the economic cooperation, and also the enhancement of the political bilateral trust. I think this visit is very important and also very meaningful, and will become the very, very historic moment for both countries.
So allow me to expand on what you just said. How do you see the influence of Iran-Syria relations on the geopolitics in the region then?
Their bilateral relations are very important to the region, because on the one hand, the two countries are very, very powerful, very, very influential in the region. Although Syria has already undergone the decade-long civil crisis, but its influence is still there. And I think after the construction process be launched, its future influence will be greater. So the bilateral ties that they came together will very, very strongly reshape the regional geopolitics. On the one hand, it will prevent the regional crisis of going further and going beyond to other states of the region. And on the other hand, we have to know that Syria and Iran, they also contributed a lot. They both contributed a lot to the counterterrorism and the counter-extremism groups in the region, especially in the Middle East. So when they cooperate with each other more closely, they will be able to very successfully prevent the expansion of the extremism and terrorism into the region. And also, I think this will be very, very helpful to the development and the stability of all the states in the Middle East.